How's it going, everyone? It is me, the Lone Vault Wanderer, and we are back with another Fallout 76 video. So as I mentioned yesterday, we are going to be live streaming Bethesda's E3 press conference and also the pre-show on my Twitch channel. So if you want to watch it with me there, the link to my Twitch is in the description below. We're going to be going live at about 5:30 PM Pacific time, so I hope to see a lot of you there. So I've mentioned in the past how incredibly smart Fallout fans are when it comes to deep diving and over-analyzing into gameplay trailers and footage and videos and images, just everything. You guys pick up on stuff that I had no idea about, and I love how as a community we can collectively break apart a very short trailer that was released by Bethesda, and together we've uncovered some very interesting information. But this video is about one particular user on Reddit who goes by the name of Nick Valentine 1994. So remember, everything that I'm going to talk about in this video, all of the credit goes to that Reddit user, and I've included both of his posts to the Fallout Reddit and also to the Bethesda Softworks Reddit in the description below. Please check out those links, click on them, tell him I sent you because he deserves absolutely all the credit and kudos for what he found because it's pretty incredible and crazy. So as you can see in the Fallout 76 trailer in the opening panning shot, there is an inconspicuous painting on the wall that just looks like any building. But in fact, this picture is of a real-life building that used to exist in West Virginia. Nick Valentine's post states the following: At 042, there is a painting with a building on it above the bed. I found out which one it is. It was a mine owned by American Coal Co. and located in McComas, West Virginia. You can find the picture of it here. It's even the same picture as on the painting. Here is also some more information about the history of the town and area. Days of searching went into this, and then in his other post he also said that the building itself doesn't exist anymore. And just so we can do a side-by-side, on the left you can see the original picture of the American Coal Company mine in McComas, and then on the right is a brightened and enhanced image of the painting in the Fallout 76 trailer. The fact that this guy on Reddit found the exact building that the painting in the trailer is referencing is absolutely incredible. I don't know how this person did this, but it's some amazing detective work, and again, he deserves all of the credit and kudos for this. So please let him know in the Reddit post that's linked in the description below. So this is pretty cool. Now, before I go into some background information into the mine itself, I just want to say that later on in the video, I'll be concluding that I don't believe the actual painting itself and the mine that's pictured in the painting actually means anything important in terms of the story of Fallout 76, and I have my reasons for that, although I could be wrong, and if I am, I'm more than happy to say that I was wrong. But just so you know, when we talk about the background information to this coal mine, I'm not necessarily implying that this is going to be included in Fallout 76 or even referenced in the game. I think it's just cool to know about the history of West Virginia, which again, like we mentioned in my last video, is going to be a predominant setting in the game of Fallout 76. So to be honest, on the internet, it was very difficult to find specific information about this mine that was owned by American Coal. At the very least, we know that it was located in McComas, West Virginia, nearby the border to Virginia and the George Washington and Jefferson National Forest. But in terms of some background into McComas itself, I found a very interesting timeline which is also linked in the description below, but we'll include some main points on the screen. In 1870, the community of Mannering was established, and this community eventually became known as McComas. On the 6th of March 1901, railroad construction began between, during, and Crane Creek, Mannering, West Virginia. In order to build its Crane Creek line, Norfolk and Western Railroad used much of the same right-of-way, or in close proximity to it, that Will Hamlet had cleared previously for his tramway. Coal operators W.H. Thomas, William McQuail, and Isaac T. Mann agreed to buy lumber from Will Hamlet in exchange for him hauling supplies to his sawmill at Crystal. These same coal operators later hired a crew to clear the land and build the first wagon road into Mannering. Transportation into McComas is now open, and coal operations rapidly start. Then in 1902, the Pocahontas Sagamore Colliery, owned by W.H. Thomas, William McQuail, and Isaac T. Mann, start coal production. In 1903, William H. McQuail's Crane Creek and Pinnacle Coal and Coke companies were opened. Then in 1904, a petition circulated to have the name changed from Mannering to McComas. And then finally in 1908, McQuail goes into partnership with American Coal Company, which was owned by the Atwater interests of New York. Now, in terms of finding a date for the picture, I could not find a specific one, but given the American Coal Company got involved in 1908, the mine shown in the picture was likely built from 1908, perhaps up to 1920, or maybe even 1930. The reason why I mention that is because, on a website which is linked in the description below that contains the original picture of the American Coal Company mine, there are a range of other pictures which are dated from 1906 up to 1922, but then some are dated up to 1935. But, as mentioned by Nick Valentine 1994, the building itself doesn't exist anymore. So why exactly is it that I'm mentioning mentioning the potential date of publication of this image? Well, the reason I'm doing so is because I'm assuming that this image is actually in the public domain, and therefore I think the picture was used in the Fallout 76 trailer and indeed in the game itself solely because it was in the public domain. I'm going to assume that BGS has included a bunch of these different paintings in the game itself to try and represent West Virginia in some sort of way, because again, West Virginia is likely the main setting. So this is where my experience and background as a lawyer comes into handy when making videos. Now mind you, I'm not a US copyright attorney, but I do have some information about US copyright law that'll at least allow me to answer this question. So most works that were published in the US before the year 1923 are considered to have their copyright expired, and thus they're in the public domain. So assuming this image of the American Coal Company mine in McComas is actually in the public domain, BGS could reimagine the picture as a painting in the game without risk of legal issues, without needing to seek permission from the original author or pay royalties, or even go down the path in terms of whether fair use actually applies. Note that this would only apply if the publication before the year 1923 was actually an authorized publication. But of course, there was nothing that I could find that would actually suggest this, so I'm going to assume that the publication, if there indeed was one, was authorized. So in my opinion, I think BGS has come to the conclusion that this image was authorized and the publication was before the year of 1923. And again, judging by the timeline of when American Coal Company got involved in McComas, I think it's a relatively safe bet that this image was published before that year. Mind you, of course, there is a risk that the work was actually unpublished, which would entail a whole other range of legal consequences. It would actually mean that the copyright term of this particular image wouldn't expire until 70 years after the death of the author, or even 120 years after the date of creation if the specific date of the author's death is unknown. Also, if this image was published after the year 1923 but before the year 1963, and it had a copyright notice but that copyright was not renewed, then this image would also be considered to be in the public domain. Additionally, if the image was published after the year 1923 but before the year 1977 without a copyright notice, then it would also be considered to be in the public domain. So why am I mentioning this? Well, again, I think the image was used just because it was in the public domain, rather than it having any particular significance to the story of Fallout 76. And also as well, it would be an image that could easily convey the history of West Virginia. Although, mind you, I could be wrong, and it could very much be relevant. I mean, in past Fallout games, there have been different mines that have been utilized, and not specifically just coal mines, but more so mineral mines. So Fallout New Vegas actually had a few mines, and also as well, in the cancelled Fallout 3 game, codenamed Van Buren, there were going to be some mines in there, and also a mining company called Prometheus Coal, which was going to be featured heavily. But I'm just mentioning this to say that it could be a possibility that this mine might actually appear in the game itself. I don't think it's going to happen. Again, I think it's just a painting that was used because it was easy, but the possibility is there. So anyways, Wastelanders, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Again, give my props to Nick Valentine 1994. All the credit in this video is to him. And until next time, this has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Please take care of yourself, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.